Jess and welcome back to the channel. Have you ever had one of those days where you're crazy busy, zero energy, and the dreaded dinner dilemma hits hard? Like, do I cook or do I just go pick something up? On this day, I knew that if it wasn't going to be easy, I was not going to do it. So I decided to look up a one-pot meal that would be quick and easy. This recipe said that it would only take 10 minutes and then 30 minutes to cook. Now, it did take me a little bit longer than 10 minutes to prep, but that's because I made one of the ingredients by scratch instead of using like the can ingredient. It only added a couple more minutes, but I did want to at least tell you. Also, definitely watch until the end because I have a couple things I plan to do differently next time I make this. And yes, there will definitely be a next time. So I started off like I usually do, getting all the ingredients together. The recipe called for 1.5 cups of long grain rice, along with 1 pound of chicken thighs. I use chicken breast just because I prefer it, but you do want to take the chicken, remove all the fatty pieces, and then you want to cut it into bite-sized chunks. I think you could use rotisserie chicken if you really wanted to, but honestly this didn't really take all that long. The recipe also called for a can of Rotel and a can of Mexicorn. I didn't have either of those, so I just made a really quick homemade Rotel from scratch, and then I just used some frozen corn that I had in the freezer. For the Rotel from scratch, I just threw some tomatoes that I had and a jalapeno along with 2 cloves of garlic that the recipe called for, and just threw it in the food processor and blended it and made kind of a chunky salsa. Then to my 7-quart pot, I added about a tablespoon of avocado oil, turned the heat to medium-high, then added my chicken along with 4 of my onion pucks. If you have seen my Hamburger Helper one-pot meal video, you know that I puree several onions and then freeze them into ice cubes to create like onion pucks that I can add to meals. I don't really like chunks of onion, so pureeing it allows me to get the flavor without that texture. If you like onions, you can absolutely cut them up, dice them, cut them into slices, freeze that, and then add it to your dish. But I did add the equivalent of 1 onion to the pot, and then I just let the onions and the chicken cook for about 8 to 10 minutes or until the chicken is pretty much cooked. Then the recipe calls for you to add a packet of taco seasoning. I just keep taco seasoning in a jar because I use so much of it, and I just kind of buy it in bulk. So I just added basically what I thought the equivalent of a packet of taco seasoning was, and then kind of tasted it later and added more if I wanted to. So you'll let that cook for about 30 seconds, and then next you want to add 2.5 cups of chicken broth. Once again, I had some that I'd frozen so that it wouldn't go to waste. I just threw those in there and let that cook down. Then you will want to add 1 can of drained and rinsed black beans. Now here's where you can kind of choose your own adventure. I decided to add my homemade Rotel mixture and 2 cups of frozen corn. However, you could just add the 1 can of actual Rotel and the 1 can of the Mexicorn, which I believe is just corn with some peppers already diced in it. Once you mix that, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste and then some salt and pepper to taste. Then you just mix it and bring it to a boil. Then once it's boiling, you will actually add your rice, cover with a lid, reduce the heat to medium-low, and let it cook for about 15 to 20 minutes or until the rice is tender and most of the liquid is absorbed. So after about 15 minutes, I decided to check the rice and just see how it was looking. It was definitely burning to the bottom. I don't know if I didn't have enough liquid or maybe I had kept it too hot. I'm not sure, but mine was definitely burning a little bit to the bottom of the pot. I decided to taste it, see if I needed to add any salt, pepper, any more taco seasoning. I decided to add a little bit more liquid just because it was kind of burning to the bottom. I also turned the heat down a little bit, and that seemed to help. final step was to add 2 cups of shredded cheese. The recipe called for Monterey Jack, but I had sharp cheddar and Colby Jack, so I just did kind of a combination of the both, and it tasted fine. You'll want to add the 2 cups of shredded cheese and just let that cook until the cheese is all melted and delicious. Now, I did learn a couple things that I'm definitely going to do next time I make this. Overall, the recipe was really good, 8 out of 10 from me. First, I think I'm going to add more chicken. I just like a little bit more protein in my dishes, so for me, I would want to add just a little bit more chicken overall. Then also, I think I'd add a little bit more liquid than I originally did, just because of the issue of it burning to the bottom. And also, I think the rice could have handled a little bit more liquid. I also think next time I will check my rice about every 5 minutes and stir just to help with the bottom not burning. Also, I did want to note that this recipe didn't call for salt and pepper, or I didn't see where it said to add salt and pepper. I definitely did, and I'm glad that I did. I even wanted to add a little more salt next time. But overall, really good, really easy, really quick meal. If you're looking for really good one-pot meals, definitely check out my one-pot hamburger helper.